Hello. Today we're going to proceed with book Cambridge and practice test 1, reading passage 2. So let's read the task. You should spend about 20 minutes on questions 16 to 28, which are based on reading passage 2 below. As the text calls the conservation programs. So on the right hand side we have questions from 16 to 22. Let's see the task. Do the following statements agree with the views of the writer in reading passage 2? In boxes 16 to 22, write yes, no, or not given. Yes if the statement agrees with the writer. No if the statement contradicts the writer. Not given is if it is impossible to say what the writer thinks about this. So there is an example. London Zoo's advertisements are poorly presented, not given. So let's read the question 16. London Zoo's advertisements are dishonest. So we're gonna highlight our keywords, which is gonna be London's Zoo and advertisements. So we're gonna scan the text and try to find any information about London Zoo. So here in the first sentence of the first paragraph, we have London Zoo information and about advertisements. Let's read this sentence. So one of London Zoo's recent advertisements caused me some irritation, so patently did it distort reality. So they were just distorting the reality. They were not honest, they were dishonest, as it's written here. So the answer to question number 16 is going to be yes, it's true, they are not honest. So I'm going to put like yes, and then we go further to the question number 17. Zoos made an insignificant contribution to conservation up until 30 years ago. So keyword is going to be 30 years ago. When we have a time, it's better to focus on time to make it your keyword. So here in the second paragraph, there is information about 30 years ago. I'm going to highlight it. And let's read this sentence. So, zoos were originally created as places of entertainment, and their suggested involvement with conservation didn't seriously rise until about 30 years ago. So those made an insignificant contribution to conservation up until 30 years ago. So the answer is going to be yes, it's true. So question number 18. The Wzcs document is not known in Eastern Europe. So this document, and I'm going to highlight Wzcs and Eastern Europe. So we scan further and we see from this part, this document called World ZPO Conservation Strategy, which is here. So we're mentioning about it here from here. And let's try to find information about Eastern Europe. Here in the third paragraph, there is a word Eastern Europe. And let's read this sentence. Of course, it is difficult to get accurate data, but to put the issue into perspective, I have found that in the years of working in Eastern Europe, I discover fresh zoos on almost a weekly basis. But it doesn't say that this document is not known there, or if it's not known or it's known there. But I was saying about zoos were almost discovered on a weekly basis. So the answer to this question is going to be not given. We don't know it. So I'm going to put it here. This, and then we go further. Question number 19. Zoos in the Wzcs select list were carefully inspected. Again, about this program and about the lease, that they were carefully inspected. So we go further and we scan further and to try to find any information about the list. And here in this following paragraph, they were just continuing the idea of this document Wzcs, and they are mentioning about the list of the document. And let's read this sentence. So one would assume that the caliber of these institutions would have been carefully examined, but it appears that the creation for inclusion of this select list might merely be that the zoo is a member of the federation or association. So we can't say that they were carefully inspected. So they were just selecting them merely to be the zoo is a member of the. So it would have been carefully examined. So it was just an assumption. We can't say that they have been carefully examined or not. But the answer, they were not. So the answer to question number 19 is going to be no, they were not examined carefully, unfortunately. And we go further. Question number 20. No one knew how the animals were being treated at Robin Hill Adventure Park. So our keyword is going to be Robin Hill Adventure Park. We know that we didn't have that kind of exact park here, and that's why we go further and scan it further and try to find any information about that park. And here they were saying about this park, Robin Hill Adventure Park, and let's scan and try to find any information about that, about animals, how they've been treated there. And so in the following sentence, it says this establishment, which for years was protected by the IELTS local council, which viewed it as a tourist amenity, was finally closed down following an examining report by a veterinary inspector appointed under the terms of the Zoo Licensing Act 1981. So it was protected by this IELTS local council, and we can't say that no one knew. IELTS local council knew how was animals treated there. So the answer to question number 20 is gonna be no. They knew how they were treated there. And we go further to question number 21, and Colin Church was dissatisfied with the treatment of animals at London Zoo. So Colin Church and London Zoo. So we scan further and try to find information about Colin Church. And here was saying about Colin Church. And here in this sentence following, there is some information about London Zoo. So let's read both sentences. Colin Church, author of Lost Animals at the Zoo, Oxford University Press, 1992, argues that if the world's zoos work together in cooperation breeding programs, then even without further expansion, they could save around 2,000 pieces of endangered land vertebrates. This seems an extremely optimistic proposition from a man who must be aware of the failing and the weakness of the zoo industry. A man who, when a member of the Council of London Zoo, had persuaded the zoo to devote more of its activities to conservation. So can't say he was dissatisfied or satisfied. It doesn't say anything about that. So the answer to question 21 is going to be not given, and we go further to question 22. The number of successful zoo conservation programs is unsatisfactory. So our keyword is going to be zoo conservation programs, and the number of them. And we scan further and we try to find any information specifically about this program. So London Zoo program, and here on the following paragraph we have some information about zoo conservation programs. So we read this, scan this text, and again, so I think about slow progress in the following paragraph. Let's read these two sentences. Beyond that, about a further 20 species are being seriously considered for zoo conservation programs. Given that the informational conference at London Zoo was held 30 years ago, it's a pretty slow progress and a long way off touch target of 2000. So the number of successful zoo conservation programs is unsatisfactory. So this is true, they had a slow progress here. It says in this following sentence. So the answer to question number 22 is going to be yes. We go further and let's read this task. Choose the appropriate letter A, D, and write terminal boxes 22 to 25 on your answer sheet. What is the objective of the Wzcs document? And again about this document and the objectives of it. A, to improve the caliber of zoos worldwide. To identify zoos suitable for conservation practice. So about conservation practice. C, to provide funds for zoos in undeveloped countries. About funds to list an endangered species of the world. About endangered species. So we're gonna try to find any information about the aim of this program. So as you can see in the previous task, it was easier because we had answer step by step, and we just knew where exactly to search answer, because in case you have answer to question number 16, let's say here, the answer to the question number 70 here, and to 18 is here, like it's a little bit easier. But in case of this task, it's a little bit tricky. So we try to find any information about the aim of this program. As you guys remember, as the program was mentioned from this second paragraph, and in case of aim, it's supposed to be here as well. And we try to find any information about the aim of this program. So they are mentioned about this program here, and in the first paragraph they were saying about this program itself, and it says about these conservation programs here in the second paragraph. So let's read this sentence. The WZCS estimates that there are about 2,000 zoos in the world, of which around 1,000 represents a core of quality collections capable of participating in coordinated conservation programs. So the answer to question 23 is gonna be B, to identify zoos suitable for conservation practices, these conservation programs. So we'll go further. Why does the writer refer to Robin Hill Adventure Park? Our keyword is gonna be Robin Hill Adventure Park. A, to support the Isle of Wight Local Council. So Wight Local Council, the keyword. Could be to criticize 1981 zoo licensing art. So 81. C, to illustrate a weakness in the WZC document about weakness. And D, to exemplify the standards in AZA zoos. So we go further and try to find the text where they were mentioning about Robin Hill Adventure Park, and try to find any information why it was this writer mentioned about this park. So here they were saying about WZS program. So let's read this sentence. The situation is even worse in developing countries where little money is available for development, and it is hard to see a way of incorporating collection to the overall scheme of Wzcs. So we can even scan from the first sentence where this Robin Hill Adventure Park was mentioned. So they were saying about it was finally closed down, and so this was about saying about this illustration of weakness of the Wzcs program. So the answer to question 24 is going to be C, and we go further. What will best describe the right response to Colin Hedge prediction of captive breeding program? His prediction. So we're gonna highlight. So A is believing, impractical, predicate, accepting. So he is mentioned here on the one of the last paragraphs, and in the brackets there is his opinion. So we can focus on that because basically they were saying about his opinion regarding that. So here, if the world zoos work together in cooperative breeding programs and even without further expansion, they could save around 2,000 species of endangered land vertebrates. This seems an extremely optimistic proposition from a man who must be aware of failing the weakness of the zoo industry. Is a man who, when a member of the Council of London Zoo, had to persuade the zoo to devote more of its activities to conservation. So this seems an extremely optimistic. He was not believing to it. So the answer is going to be disbelieving it because his opinion was this seems an extremely optimistic. So questions 26 to 28, the writer mentions a number of factors which lead him to doubt the values of Wzcs document, which through the following factors are mentioned. Write your answer A to F in the boxes 26 to 28 on your answer sheet. So the number of so they're gonna say about factors, 3 factors about this program. So A, the number of unregistered zoos in the world, unregistered zoos, the lack of money in developing countries, the action of the Isle of White Council, the failure of this program core zoos, the unrealistic aim of in the view of the number of species saved to date, the policies of these zoo managers. So we scan further and try to find information. So as you guys remember, they were mentioning about this program from this second paragraph, and we go further and try to analyze it. So in the first paragraph, they were saying about this program aims. So they were saying about failing of the programs, and they were saying about zoological establishment. So we scan. So this document, they were saying about unregistered zoos, and they were saying this is probably the document's first failing and believe that 2000 is a serious underestimate of the total number of places masquerading as zoological establishments. So they were masquerading as zoological establishments, but they were not zoos. So they were not they were unregistered as zoos and estimated those places. So the answer to the one of these 26 to 28 questions is going to be A. And further in the second paragraph, they were saying about second floor of it. So and we also try to cut where exactly they were saying, and here one of our keywords is Wzcs, and it's here, and the D is a failure of Wzcs to examine the standards of the courses. So they were just saying about the second flaw is the reasoning of the Wzcs document is a naive phase it places in its 1000 courses. So the second answer is going to be D. And further we try to find information about the third one. So and we scan further and try to find information related to our keywords. So one of our keywords mentioned here, which is saved. Let's read this sentence. Today approximately 16 pieces might be said to have been saved by captive breeding programs, although a number of these can hardly be looked up upon as resounding success. So it's gonna be E. It's an unrealistic aim of Wzcs in view of the number of species saved to date. So today we've done with the reading passage 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a good day. Good luck with your IELTS exam. Bye.